Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Now I am covering possibly the most overpowered mon, other than Azumarill, in the entire Open Great League meta. Now for the Catch Cup, there's actually a way to get Galarian Stunfisk. If you get a 7k egg and you hatch them, one of them might actually hatch into a Galarian Stunfisk. If you are willing to invest in a G-Fisk, then it's actually going to really run over a lot of the meta. Because there aren't going to be many Mud Boys, you can still get Wish Cash from the wild, of course. However, without the threat of things like, I would say, like Swampert with Hydro Cannon, or Blastoise, or anything crazy that's like water type oppressive, I don't foresee a lot of G-Fisk having a lot of problems. Yes, there will be fighters. However, a lot of budget picks out there, G-Fisk can handle. Like Obstagoon, it can still handle Obstagoon. It can still handle, like, Altaria. It has so much play. It takes down the Charmers. It takes down the Flyers. And this Metal Pancake is just absolutely, possibly one of the worst. Okay, so I'm a hypocrite because I use G-Fisk heavily in Open Great League. However, I identified very quickly that it was the best replacement for Registeel. I like using Registeel in the back because Registeel allows you to wall your opponent. Pretty much Galarian Stunfisk is the same thing. It's just twice as overpowered. It has a fast charge. It not only does it rep, not only does it like rep, in my opinion, it reps higher stamina, or not higher stamina, higher, it represents higher like yeah, actually it does have higher stamina. So this is Registeel. So that's Galarian Stunfisk, and then this is Registeel. If you notice, Galarian Stunfisk is basically Registeel 2.0. Registeel has a higher defense product, however, Galarian Stunfisk has a higher stamina product. So you basically just flip those two things around. And this is what you get. You get... It's basically what would happen if Wish Cash and the giant trash can had a baby, and you would hatch out this thing. The Bear Trap. The Metal Pancake, the Burnt Pancake, Galarian Stunfisk. Now, I really don't have to do much of an introduction for G-Fisk. G-Fisk is one of the most powerful Pokemon in the game. It has a great stat product. It maxed out on your 1500, great stat product, but mostly it's because of its moveset. It has Mud Shot, one of the fastest charging moves in the game. Couple that with Rock Slide and Earthquake, you have a recipe of destruction. Not disaster, destruction. This thing wrecks a lot of the meta. It's so powerful, so strong. That's why you see it everywhere in Open Great League since it's been released. Galarian Stunfisk is a monster. And there is a way you can get it for the Catch Cup. By no means is it cheap to power up. Because even if you do get it from research or you hatch it, it's at level 20, so you have to give it like 4 levels, and then you have to blow 75k dust. So if you're gonna spend on something, and if it is eligible, it's definitely Galarian Stunfisk if you have one. If you really want to try that hard. Like I mentioned here, the only thing you really have to watch out for are probably the fighting types. I don't foresee a lot of the other types running around rampant. Of course, you can still see them, but I don't foresee a lot of them running around. And, of course, remember I told you about, you kill fairies, you kill flyers. This thing it has a ton of resistances, it's absolutely destructive, and if it has energy and shield advantage, this thing will send you to your grave. Alright, to make this a little easier, here's a simulated custom rankings. As you see, I have all the mythical / legendaries you probably aren't going to catch in this cycle, banned, and around the simulator. This is the 2 shield. As you see at the top are fighters / charmers, etc. And our boy Galarian Stunfisk in the 2 shield ranks at number 25. So you take out a lot of... You take out the charmers, you also take out the flyers with Galarian Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk weaknesses, which you probably won't see in this meta, very likely, is Shadow Dragonair, Alola Marowak, Tropius, if they're really being that much of a tryhard, you definitely will see Tropius, and you can probably see Ferrothorn. I don't foresee a Dugong. If someone gets a good seal, builds it for this cup, and then double TMs it, then you're just going to have an issue. Other than that, Galarian Stunfisk doesn't have a lot of checks in the lead, so it would be a pretty good lead unless they were leading with something like a fighter. In the one shield, things change quite a bit. As you see, Galarian Stunfisk in the one shield ranks at number 2. Only 1 to Scrafty. It's incredibly powerful, takes out dragons. One shield, everything changes because because 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to bait the Galarian Stunfisk unless you're a masturbator. So anyways, but Galarian Stunfisk is amazing, and if it's in the one shield, as you see, it gets a huge jump of improvement versus in the two shield scenario. It takes out a lot of flowers, Bastiodon, Shadow Dragonite, other things, and as you see, its key losses. The only one I'd say in this meta that two or three are Scrafty, Obstagoon, and Wishcash. You can probably still see Wishcash here. It's not Wishcash isn't by all means any means like a cheap mon to power up at all. Scrafty is definitely accessible as well as Obstagoon. So you have to watch out, like I said, for fighters and pseudo fighters. Those are things you have to watch out for G-Fisk. However, being at number 2, it's extremely powerful still. Taking on a majority of the meta and a lot of things that you might not see. In the closer, things don't get much different as Galarian Stunfisk ranks at number 4. Number 3 if you take out Regice. So it theoretically is the number 3 closer. However, it takes out things like Bastiodon, Electivire, it just totally destroys electric types. If you do face an opponent that decided to pop an Electivire and thinking that Electivire is going to run this town, unfortunately, if you see G-Fisk, you're going to die. There is no exception. Your key losses do come against things like Cresselia. Azumarill is definitely a pick that you might see. You can actually catch an Azumarill in the wild and power it up. Or even a Marill for that matter. So you can still find those two, power them up, and use them for the catch cup. Cresselia is also catchable. If you saved your Cresselia for research a long time ago, the one that had Grass Knot, you can actually use it for this meta. Assuming that you want to blow all those resources with the new level, assuming you want to blow those new resources. I wouldn't do it, but you could still get it. And of course, Scrafty. Scrafty's your worst nightmare in this meta because Scraggy's accessible as a GBL reward, and fighters are kind of... I can foresee counter users being not super popular, or it just really depends, like, how... Because it's a catch cup, you can't really tell super hard what, like, the immediate meta is going to be, because everything is just going to be everywhere. You can only prepare against most patterns. And Galarian Stunfisk wrecks most patterns. Alright, here's my favorite part of my analysis. If you watch my other matrices, I've done G-Fisk before, so it's nothing new. The only thing different is that we have the top moveset here, and we have a Catch Cup custom meta to the right. I already played the 2-shield here, press consume. And then we get, as you see here, the 2-shield Galarian Stunfisk. As you see, it's very, very powerful against everything but fighters. And you can actually get Dragon Breath down by, like, Dragonair. Well, Aqua Tail actually kills you, so you have to shield, and you barely survive, other than the 1 shield. That's why in the 2-shield, Galarian Stunfisk is kind of hard to run as the lead, because if you do match against a fighter and you have to pivot out, you have to hope you have to kill the fighter, otherwise that fighter is going to punch your big metal pancake, flatten it, and send it to the next dimension, which is probably Giratina's graveyard. Anyways, you do beat Charmers really hard, like Wigglytuff. You do beat some Dragon Breath users hard, like Dragonites, Dragonairs, etc. Like I said, fighters wreck your soul. Beware of fighters and pseudo fighters in the 2-shield. You do beat Skarmory, you beat Flyers, you beat Charmers very convincingly, and you will also lose against Tropius. Tropius you actually have a bad matchup against unless you're running the Air Slash version. Because here's the 2-shield. You lose in the 2-shield versus the Razor Leaf version, however, you do have a chance if it is the Air Slash version. As you see here, because you resist the Air Slash, here's what happens. You still lose the 2-shield, but not by that much. Not that much of a chance. I lied. I was wrong. Razor Leaf and Air Slash Tropius in the 2-shield will kill you. Snowy Cast Form does have a play against you because it does spam those Snow Weather Balls, so it's gonna... I think it does have to land a Blizzard, but other than that, you... As long as... Well, I'm not gonna cover it. I don't know in what God's given name will you ever see a Snowy Cast Form anywhere on the... Well, you'll probably see it, actually. You might see it. It's just stupid expensive to power up. If you looked at the sim whenever... No, seriously, if you look at the sim, do you know what level this thing's at? If you are powering up a Snowy Cast Form for PvP, you better hope that that thing is really freaking good, because you are literally almost going to either max out or almost max out that thing. So I don't foresee a lot of Snowy Cast Forms running around everywhere unless someone is living in a snowy area and they're willing to shot that much boost. You do lose against Shadow Victory Bell, unfortunately, in a 2-shield. As long as Shadow Victory Bell has shield or Shadow Gloom, you're kind of dead because those Razor Leaves still chunk. Even against Azumarill. Azumarill, of course, you are weak to water because you carry that ground typing, so you have to be careful. So you lose in 2 shields. That's why in the 2 shields, Galarian Stunfisk, unless you put it against a positive matchup, like as you see here, it's not very advisable that you do use it in the lead. You can use it in the lead. If you catch a flyer lead or a charmer lead, it's great. But, like, I would rather leave it in the back so you're kind of aware of what you have to face. Because, like I said, as long as you get rid of the fighter or the pseudo-fighter, you're doing good. Now, like we saw in the rankings, in the one shield, things change. In the one shield, you pick up a lot more matchups. You still lose against GALARIAN STUNFISK. I mean, well, yeah, you lose against other GALARIAN STUNFISK if it's in the mirror, and you fail the bait game. However, you still lose against the fighters, and I wouldn't worry too much about Swampert because you're not going to see it here very often, unless like I said before. Unless someone's crazy enough and they're going to elite TM their Swamperts when they can wait for a whole community day and save a very valuable resource that you have to buy from a box or you have to get rank 7 and go battling from previous seasons to get. Anyways, continuing on, we do beat Wigglytuff, we do beat Obama Snow, and like I said, no one shield, unless it's a fighter or pseudo-fighter or even Tropius, things do get a little dicey. In the one shield, you do beat Castform at this point because you don't have to worry about getting baited. And like I said, I wouldn't bank too much that you're going to see a Castform. At least a snowy one anyways. You do beat Umbreon in the one shield, so that's good to note. If Umbreon, even if they go straight foul play, which is the play because you're probably going to face a single moved Umbreon, and the last resort's actually the worst move to use against it. So you have to bait one move with Rock Slide, but then you can go straight Earthquake, and then you actually win it in all scenarios. Like I said, as long as you're able to bait one shield. So you have to bait one shield, after that you could just go straight Earthquake. And then, as you see here, you do beat Umbreon, and you also beat Dragonite, you also beat Mandibuzz, you beat, well, Flyers. And this is where you'll start beating Shadow Victory Belt and Shadow Gloom. As long as you can take one shield away from them, you can take one shield and then Earthquake them to oblivion. In the one shield, Galarian Stunfisk is number 2 for a reason. Because if you're very strong against its positive matchups, and, well, the downside is that you're very weak to your negative matchups, but as long as you pivot away from them, you should be okay. In the zeros, things get a little dicey, because in the zeros, you do lose against fighters still. Like I said, just avoid fighters, but you do have an out. You're able to defeat Machamp. You're also able to defeat things like, let's see, you still beat Skarmory. You destroy Bastiodon, that's always a good thing. And you beat Tropius. This is where you'll beat Tropius, because you'll absolutely destroy it with your Rock Slides at this point. Because in a no shield, this is what happens. You just bury it under a bunch of rocks, and Tropius does not like 2 Rock Slides. It likes 3 Rock Slides, as you see here. It'll actually get to 3. You'll actually get to 3, but you're gonna almost be dead. So make sure you have a little bit of energy advantage before you send Galarian Stunfisk into a Razor Leaf Tropius. You still destroy the Charmers and you still destroy the Shadow Razor Leafers. You have to be careful of Azumarill though, because you don't have a really strong matchup against Azumarill. You only beat Azu up shields or up you only beat Azu if you have shield advantage. And even then, in the 2-to-1s, you have to bait that shield or you die. As you see here, you have to bait the shield or you die. 2-to-1s. Well, hold on. Yeah. Well, what? Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, here we go. So, as you see here, you're going to block both Ice Beams. But you have to bait that shield, because if they shield the Earthquake, here's what happens. Azumarill wins. So you have to bait it with Earthquake. So if they don't call the Rock Slide, right, sandbox mode, don't call the Rock Slide, they don't shield this attack, they end up shielding your Earthquake, Azu wins. So you have to, so that's what sucks. You have to bait. You can still, yeah, you have to bait. So that's the issue, is that Galarian Stunfisk against like negative matchups like Azu, you have to it's not every situation you're gonna have to bait. There's ways out. That's the thing. Galarian Stunfisk has a way out against a lot of meta picks as long as you have advantages like energy or you have shield advantage. You still lose against Witchcash because Witchcash just bodies you straight Mud Bomb. As you see here, straight Mud, but you're not gonna beat this thing. It's going to outpace you and it will destroy you. Now, ironically, you do have to Blizzard. So you Blizzard and then you straight Mud Bomb and that's GG's. Only winning in the 2-to-0s or the 2-to-1s. Up shields, G-Fisk is a monster. Up shields, G-Fisk destroys pretty much everything in the meta except for Witchcash and Scrafty. As long as it has a shield. That's how stupidly powerful Galarian Stunfisk is in the Catch Cup meta, is that in the 1-to-0s, it's a beast. In the 2-to-0s, it beats everything. There's nothing that stops Galarian Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk wins a... Galarian Stunfisk up 2 shields is one of the few mons in Open Great League that if it has 2-0 advantage, it wins against 100% of its matchups. That's assuming that there's no energy advantage, etc. The 2-to-1s, things kind of change a bit. You do drop the matchup against Scrafty, and like I mentioned, that end against Obstagoon, you only beat Azu if you can bait Azu's shield. So just be careful. So you do still lose. Well, actually, in the 2-to-1s, you be having convincing losses to only Scrafty and Obstagoon is huge. In other words, Galarian Pancake is a beast, and it's a monster, and with shield advantage, it's amazing, and being 2-0s, you might as well play the Funeral Song, because whoever you're battling is probably going to GG you in either the next 30 seconds, or you're going to have to be really fancy to find a win condition. Alright, so I give Galarian Stunfisk a 9 out of 10. You might be surprised of why it doesn't get a perfect score, because this is the Catch Cup. I don't imagine you building a Stunfisk for Great League for the Catch Cup, unless you hatch it and it happens to be like perfect and you have this huge plan with it, etc. The thing about G-Fisk is that because G-Fisk does have outs against every Pokemon it faces, no, literally. This is all the justification you need to show why it's like one of the ultimate Pokemon in the game. 2-0s. You hit battle, multi-battle, guess what? You win every matchup. Nothing beats G-Fisk in 2 shield advantage. In the 2-0s, G-Fisk wins everything. I don't recall, or at least another Pokemon that's so dominant. I remember someone telling me about this. I ran the sim and I was like, I couldn't believe it because, yeah. But the only reason it doesn't get a 10 out of 10 out of me is because G-Fisk, just because the way the meta is that there's a lot of fighters. So you can expect some fighters, like G-Fisk is very weak against fighters, so, and a lot of fighters are budget picks, or things like Machop, etc. are they might be out there. And also G-Fisk does lose to Azu pretty hard. So that's why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. In my opinion, it's better to have an Azu versus a G-Fisk because Azu has more viability, more stopping power than G-Fisk does without shield advantage, and just overall better like neutral matchups. Because G-Fisk, like I said, if you do see a fighter, you die. There's like no coming back. You could say the same thing about Azumarill when it comes to like Shadow Razor Leavers, etc. However, generally like Azu against most matchups, Azu does very well. So that's just the thing. However, G-Fisk is, unlike Azu, G-Fisk does up 2-0s, as you see, destroy the entire meta. Azu is so... G-Fisk is so powerful that if you see one and you don't have a hard counter against it, or if you aren't already dominating the match, you can still lose just because it will outcharge you. And like I said, if it has shield and energy advantage, it's going to bury you alive. A lot. There isn't a lot that takes down G-Fisk in this meta with shield, or just in like any scenario in general. G-Fisk will either break shields, you will either get a shield or get switched with Galarian Stunfisk. Either one. It's just how, just depends on the scenario of the game. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope if you like the video, please like and subscribe. The only way to get G-Fisk, as you see on the things above, is I don't really have anything bad to say about it, or I had very little bad things to say about it. The Pancake does rank as one of the highest I've ranked it for the Catch Cup. And the thing about G-Fisk is that you can only get it from hatching. So if you open your friend's gifts, get a 7k egg, hatch those eggs, you can possibly find a G-Fisk, and if it's allowed in this meta, it's going to be really good. So if you want to win with a G-Fisk, this is arguably like the most powerful, other than a wild Azumarill, this is the most powerful mon you can accessibly get. Anyways, you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're preparing very well for the Catch Cup.